Hello, it's Ben Recap again. Today, I'm going to explain a 2014 sci-fi action thriller movie called Predestination. Sit back and enjoy. Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. The movie starts out with a man walking down a hallway. He diverts and goes down the stairs into a room. Inside, there's a bomb with a countdown. He tries to stop the bomb from exploding. He senses someone's presence. The person shows up and shoots him. He shoots back but is unable to hit. He tries to contain the bomb, but it explodes on his face and body. He is burnt severely. Someone helps him with his bag and he transports to a facility. He wakes up wrapped in bandages and he receives a medal from some top agents. He asks about the bomber, but he is told that is not his problem anymore. They tell him to rest well for his final mission. When the doctor unwraps his bandages, he warns him that he would need some time to get used to his new look. He sees that he has changed completely. Weeks later, after going through cosmetic surgery, he is called for his final mission. He takes an oath to be terminated if he diverts from the mission plan and is convicted by the court-martial. He works undercover as a bartender, and on this particular night, a man walks into the bar, his target. He goes over to make small talk with him, but the man blows him off. Later on, the man confesses that he writes for a living under the famous name Unmarried Mother. He eventually opens up to the bartender about his past. He was born a female and left in an orphanage where she was given the name Jane. She was raised there and always desired a family. She promised herself that if she ever had a child, it would have a mom and a dad. She focused her youthful energy on learning how to fight and was good at it. She got into trouble frequently at school, but she was exemplary in her academics. She soon realized she wasn't going to be adopted because she was different from the other girls. One day, a man from an organization called Space Corps, Mr. Robertson, visited the orphanage and invited Jane for an interview. At the time, women were not encouraged to aspire to be astronauts, so she was shocked, but she went for the interview. During the interview, she was asked if she had been with a man. She said no. They also asked if she had plans to be a tourist or a participant in the program. She told them she doesn't have plans of being a tourist. She was accepted. The girls that were accepted were tested in every way, physically, emotionally, and intellectually. She got into a fight one day with one of the girls and was asked to leave the program. Although they had found something in her that disqualified her, they didn't disclose this to her. She returned home and started working as a mother's helper. It was in that house she discovered confession stories. She would read them while carrying out her house chores. At night, she went to school to improve her decorum. On a particular night, after class, she bumped into a guy. They talked a bit and went on to fall in love with each other. Then he left her one day on a bench, and she never saw him again. She convinced herself it was all for the best. At this point, the undercover agent says they should play a game of pool, so they move over to the pool stand. He continues his story. Mr. Robertson finally came to see her. He told her he had not been entirely truthful to her. He says in order to keep the people safe, the government keeps certain operations confidential. He tells her that the organization he works with is not primarily concerned about space travel, but reshaping wrongdoings. They use Space Corp as a way to find special people to be recruited. Jane asks what they are going to be recruited for. He doesn't clearly tell her what the job entails, and she didn't really understand what it meant, but she knew it would change her life for the better. Soon, she found out she was pregnant. She never saw Robertson again and had to deliver her child alone in the hospital. After the delivery, the surgeon who carried out the cesarean section came in to talk with her. She asks about her baby and he tells her the baby is fine. He then proceeds to ask if she had ever done a thorough examination of her body. She says yes, and he asks what the doctors told her back then. She told him the doctors said everything was fine. He asks if no doctor ever told her that her internal system was different from other people. He asks if she'd heard about a physician who became a transgender. She asks what that has to do with her. The doctor tells her that during her surgery, something unique was found. She had two organs, male and female. After the surgery, she bled profusely, and they had to take out her ovaries and uterus, and they replaced them with the male urinary tract. The doctor tells her further surgery would be required for her to fully become a man. Her daughter, who she named Jane, was kidnapped from the hospital few days after. She tried everything she could to find the child, but didn't. She went on to have the reconstructive surgery and was in the hospital for 11 months. She had 3 major surgeries. Afterwards, she was given testosterone hormones. She started learning how to behave like a man. He tells the undercover bartender how he hates the guy who messed up his life. He re-enlisted for Space Corps as a man, and after the medical examination, he was deemed unfit for enlistment. He tells the bartender that he gave up and came to New York, changed her name, started working as a cook, but the pay was bad, so he bought a typewriter and started typing letters, which gave him an idea. He bought confession magazines and studied them, and started his own confession storylines with the title Confessions of an Unmarried Mother. He tells the bartender that the story is over. The bartender walks over to the bar counter and asks if he would kill the man that ruined his life if he were to be put in front of him. He replies that he would kill the man in a heartbeat. The bartender replies that he knows where the man is. The bartender tells him the name of the man he is looking for and his name, which is John. John is shocked to see that the bartender knows his name. He asks if he is a cop and if he's been following him, to which he replies no, but that he can put the man in John's laps. John agrees, and the bartender tells him if he does that for him, John would also do something for him. At first John is reluctant, but he asks what he would have to do. The bartender says that Robertson explains it better than he does. John asks if he is a part of Robertson's secret organization, and he replies yes. He takes a break from work and asks John to follow him. They go down a staircase. He enters a room and locks the door after him. John asks what is going on, and he tells him he is taking precautions. He goes over to a bag, the one he was given at the office for his final mission. He reveals that the bag is a time machine, and as he opens it, they are transported to the past. They arrive at Cleveland, Ohio, April 1963. The agent tells John that time is very essential in their line of duty. He asks where Robertson is, and he tells him that he is in 1985, at the headquarters. John asks if he's a cop. He tells him that they prevent crime before it happens. He gives John a set of rules to follow and tells him that any major deviation from the plan could result in the termination of his life. He tells him that the man who ruined his life could be the Fizzle Bomber. John asks where he could meet him, and the agent tells him he would be on his way to meet with her on her way out of her classroom. The agent tells John he has to be on his way out, but he would be around. John goes over to the college, and while he's waiting for the man to arrive, Jane bumps into him. She says the lines she said in the past when she bumped into that man. John, intrigued by his past self, continues chatting with her and reminding her that she is beautiful. The agent witnessed the scenario and makes an illegal jump to a different location in search of the Fizzle Bomber. He meets the bomber setting the bomb which blew up in his face in the past. He shoots at the bomber. He shoots back and tries to get away. The agent follows and gets hit from the back. They fight each other, and the bomber eventually knocks the agent out. When he regains consciousness, he meets the scene where the bomb exploded on his body and someone passed him his travel bag. He realizes that he was the one who did. The agent goes back to 1964, to a room where he kept recordings as guidelines. He changes into a hat and coat that were already in the room. Meanwhile, Jane and John have gone to a restaurant to continue their conversation. John asks Jane why she doesn't talk to people, and she says she has poor social skills. John tells her it's because she thinks she's superior to everyone. He goes on to say she has never been in love before. Jane asks what his business is with her life. She asks if they have met before, and John denies. Jane tells him that she feels they have met before. John apologizes and they continue their conversation. The agent meets up with Robertson and gives him a piece of the Fizzle Bomber's timing. He tells Robertson that he would accept his punishment for the illegal jumps he had made. He says Jane went through so much pain because of what he did, but Robertson says it's the way it's been and he should understand that better than anyone else. He tells the agent that he must lay the seed for the future. The agent asks what happens when he no longer has sight of his future. Robertson tells him that he would take life one step at a time. Their location was the hospital where Jane's baby was. The agent goes into the nursery, picks up the baby, and jumps to 1945. He drops the baby at the door of the orphanage and bids her goodbye. He resets his machine to 1963 and travels back to get John. John, who is with Jane on a bench, cites the agent and tells Jane he would be back. He goes over to confront the agent about the events that had occurred. The agent tells him he had the choice to make. He says he is not going to leave Jane. The agent explains to John that now he knows who he was in Jane's story. He has to understand his own role in the story. He tells John that he has to see Robertson. They jump to 1985. John is taken to a room to rest. Robertson and the agent discuss about the bomber. Robertson gives the agent his retirement letter and asks if he is sure he wants to retire so close to the next bomb blast. The agent says he's positive about it. He goes back to 1975 to retire. He sets his machine to default mode, but it resets to error. He then opens the letter he was given by Robertson, and inside is a receipt. There is a note on the side from Robertson asking him to track the purchase made by the Fizzle Bomber. While tracking it, He realizes that the movements of the bomber matches his own and he travels to meet his future self. He confronts him about all the killing, but his future self says he did it to protect people. He tells the agent that if he kills him, he would become him, but the agent guns him down, vowing to never become him. The agent goes home and reflects on his thoughts. We see John's surgical scars on his body, confirming that Jane, John, the Fizzle bomber, and the agent are the same person, and Robertson orchestrated it all. The movie closes with John listening to a recording made by the agent where he contemplates if it is possible to change the future. Thank you for watching. See you later.